Welcome to my channel where we cover the lore of video games. We cover all kinds from the mainstream to the indie, so I hope you enjoy your stay, and welcome to the Chronicler of Lore. Derek still hasn't heard anything from Crowl and Thaleia, but he's pretty sure they're working as fast as they can to go over all of the stuff you found in the Phantom Realm. But since this is all uncharted territory, it's not like this process will happen overnight. So while you're waiting for news, Derek figures it'll be a good idea to head back to Amphalos and check on Snogum. It's not like you have anything better to do, so you go to check on the woman with him. She's focused so much on what she's doing that it takes her a minute to notice you and the fact that Thaleia and Crowl aren't there. Since she's a researcher like them, Derek finds it kinda weird that she doesn't want to go and help them out instead of hanging around by herself. But she always liked being in the field more than being cooped up in an office. She thinks better like that, which I can relate to. Plus she had been hoping to speak with the 12 again, but they only show up when they want to, and apparently they didn't want to talk to her. But she remembers them saying that they wanted to talk to you, so if you tried, they might answer. Since you don't have much to do while you wait for the others, you give it a try, and they do show up. Although aside from a few words of encouragement and praise for your accomplishments, they don't really tell you much. The conversations do give Crowl and Thaleia time to show up, and they found something that gives them the impression that you might want to be careful before you continue your sparring sessions with the 12. When you fought them, the gods burned up so much energy that they started to burn through their own essence. They wanted to do it, which makes the whole thing more odd, so Crowl figures it may be better to avoid going another round with them until you know what their plans are. That means you need to take your trip to the moon to see if the Watcher is in fact the 13th member of the 12 that you had read about. Crowl's already gotten permission to use the Tower of Babel for the trip, so there's nothing stopping you all from heading up there. The Watcher's pretty excited to have so many guests, and he's not against answering Crowl's questions about the 12, starting with the fact that he is indeed the 13th member. He doesn't have all of the answers since he is one of Vanna's creations who doesn't have all of his memories of the old days. Hydaelyn made the 12 just like she made him, and their mission was to help guide the sundered world forward. They all resemble people that Vanna knew in the past, and they all believe that the new beings that were born from the sundering should be the ones to choose which path the new world would go once they got everything set in motion. The people Vanna picked all had specialties and personalities that were suited for their jobs, and those personalities, along with the prayers of the mortals, sculpted the 12 into the forms that you've seen. Since they've been around for a very, very long time, the billions of prayers have made them look a lot different from what they started out as. Despite all of their changes, they still followed Vanna's orders and avoided intervening in mortal affairs. However, since their creator is dead and the final days have come and gone, the 12 have come up with their own plan. The Watcher won't tell you what it is, but he promises that it definitely won't hurt mortals in the least. In fact, it will probably help them in the end, meaning you can beat the crap out of them without worrying about dooming the world. Since you now know the truth, you all head back to Amphalos. When you get back to the place, something has changed. The gods' avatars are gone, but before Crowl can figure out why, the last two sanctums open, and two of the gods who you hadn't seen before, Lemalayan and Thaleia, show up claiming that their preparations are complete. Thaleia confirms what the Watcher said about why they were made. Since their job was to preserve the balance of reality, they made Amphalos in the Phantom Realm and their sanctums all throughout Eorzea to serve that purpose. That part Graha understands, but what he doesn't get is why the 12 are burning through their power fighting you when that will make their job harder to do. That's a good question, but Derek has an answer for you since in a plot twist that was worthy of M. Night Shyamalan, that is to say that it was obvious from the beginning of the story, Derek was Oshan all along. And for some reason, even though he spent all of his time in human form wandering around among mortals, he still didn't realize that bards didn't wear summoner's horns, or fly, or look nearly that cool. No shade to bards, but there's nothing that they've done to have a god up their cool factor like this. He apologizes for hiding his true nature from you all, but he figured that if you knew what they were really planning, you wouldn't have agreed to fight them. He also apologizes for the fact that he has to leave his little koala monkey with you now. Once you face the last 3 members of the 12 in combat, they'll tell you what all of this was really for. So as per usual, you grab a group of adventurers and head into Thaleia to fight more gods, which at this point in time is so common for you that it should only slightly raise the Warrior of Light's blood pressure. The final sanctum is just as beautiful as you might expect. The place looks like a futuristic version of Venice, Italy, but the beautiful scenery is hard to admire when Thaleia uses it to try and drown you. When you've dealt with him, you face Lemalayan, who is Poseidon if he doesn't get his morning coffee, meaning she stabs you with a trident, tries to drown you, then summons sea creatures to eat you. When you're done with her, you fight Oshan, who is definitely the coolest bard you've ever seen, but that doesn't stop him from getting wrecked, even though his turning shadow clones was a pretty cool and annoying technique. With the final member of the 12 beaten, you're brought back to Omphalos, where they're all waiting for you. In what was the most cliche final boss ever, they fuse together forming one being that you and your friends proceed to beat the crap out of. Once you've overpowered the combined version of the 12, they finally tell you what the whole point of all of this was. They just wanted to give all of their power to the star as a blessing for mankind. They've been alive for 12,000 years, and through that time the prayers of mortals has made them exponentially more powerful, and by fighting you, they can give all of that stored power to the planet where it might cause new life to sprout up. In other words, the 12 had you fight them so they could die, because what they're doing doesn't in fact have any measurable benefits for the people of Atheris. In fact, it could turn out to be a bad thing for the people, because imagine what chaos would spread through the world if the Warrior of Light, the people's champion, comes back home and says, "Hey guys, you know those gods that you've been worshiping since our world began? Yeah, I killed those." You'd become public enemy number 1 overnight. Now, in the practical sense, the 12 not intervening in mortal affairs meant them having their own individuality didn't matter anyway. And considering how many times the world nearly ended under their watch without them doing anything about it, they hadn't exactly stabilized the world either. So them fading away and allowing mortal prayers to feed the star itself will be more beneficial for the people in the long run. So the 12 say their goodbyes and return to the star. But again, to nobody's surprise, Oshan decides that he wants to stay. He reassumes his mortal form, but this time it's not just an illusion. He used all of his godly powers in your battle, so now he's just a man like any other, save for the fact that he has thousands of years of memories and experiences to draw on. He plans on going back to traveling the world like before, but instead of avoiding people like he did the last time, this time he plans on making friends and exploring the world that way. But before he heads off on his new journey, he decides to move the home for the 12's hopes from Omphalos to a place connected to the world of men. That place being the Sanctum of the 12 in the E-Shroud. With that done, Crowl and the others head back to Charlian where they can figure out just what they should report about this mission, while Derek heads off to explore the world with new eyes. This concludes the story of Myths of the Realm. If you enjoyed it, help me out by leaving a like, a comment, and sharing the video. That really helps with the algorithm, just like clicking on another one of my videos right after this one does. And if you really want to show your support, you can buy me a coffee through the link in the description because caffeine is the only thing that keeps me going. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.